All right, guys. I hope you are as ready for this as I am. Tonight's show is going to be it's going to be a lot of fun. Eric and I have really worked a lot over the last 2 days to come up with some good notes and things like that to keep you guys just involved in this episode. There are some new race car friends that are backstage. I'm really excited about what they are going to bring it to the Drag and Drive Addiction group. They are our new race car friends. And then we're going to talk to the most competitive racer in 2022. Eric, I don't know what else to call him, but Cameron raced 4 national drag and drive events, 4 week-long events in 2022. I mean, is there another name for than most competitive?
I don't think so. I mean, that's incredible when you think about it. That's a lot of driving, a lot of
Yeah.
racing, a lot of fun.
Yeah, a lot of maintenance. That's one of my questions for him. Is like, how do you maintain a car at that level to one, be that competitive, and two, it's a 10-second car. How do you make a Volvo wagon a 10-second car? I don't There's a lot of good stuff that we're going to talk to Cameron about. And then obviously what we're going to talk about here in just a second is the 1320 video, how I started 1320 video by Kyle Loftus. Y'all, I think it's one of my favorite videos that they've done. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty cool. I really like those kind of stories on how people
Yeah.
get started because, for us, that's ultimately our goal, right? So it's cool
Yeah.
to kind of see how other people got there and what they did.
Yeah, we're living it. So last week I did not have the video up of the all of the drag and drive racer decals that have been posted. I've been screenshotting those just so everybody knows that I love seeing that stuff. I know other people love seeing that stuff too, and I know you guys love posting it. So I took all of the screenshots that I have and I laid them into a video. So we're going to do that right now because I wanted to do it last week. Here we go. And dude, there are more that are out there that I haven't even posted yet that I got. I love this stuff. But guys, just so you do know, yes, we are creating and taking pre-orders right now for the I Survived the Drag and Drive 2022 decal. Those are planned to print February 1st. That's the first time we could get into the printer. Again, they are 1.75 inches by 4 inches. So they're a little smaller than what the racer decal is that went out for anyone that made the list. Here's what I'll say that I'm most excited about these as we lead into the 2023 season. One, yes, we'll have a 2023 event decal, or I Survived the Drag and Drive 2023 decal that'll come out. But I'm ready to see these out in the wild. I'm ready to see some on cars that are going to be at Sick Week. So if you're in the comments tonight, if you're watching this later, please comment below. Let us know what you're bringing, because I'm telling you, I'm going to fangirl a little bit, I think, if I see some of these decals out in the world. Now, I don't know if people will have their I Survived a Drag and Drive 2022 decal on their car by Sick Week, but possibly. So I'm going to also bring a few of those to Sick Week as well with me, so I'll have them. While you're in there, you can find those decals, the pre-order for those on dragandrive.com/shop. And while you're in there, make sure, you got hats and hoodies and all that kind of stuff, license plates, everything like that for your drag and drive affinity that you want to do for the drag and drive addiction. I read that Scotty asking,
You got you
where's the
got me.
shirt? Yep. That's what happens. Hey, sometimes you got to rep your own brand. If you guys don't know, Eric, why don't you tell them who you are and kind of what you do as well?
I'm Eric White. I created 815 LSx Swaps, and just recently also created the new brand, Motor Sports Paparazzi. So that's going to be my media brand. where I do all my event coverage. So drag week, PRI, stick week, anything like that. And then I'll keep 815 LSx swaps just to all my LS content, my builds, Dan's build, and any new builds that we do.
Yeah, dude. You're a busy guy. You're kind of like me. You're very, very busy. So let's jump into it. We got 25 days until sick week comes. Is there something you'd like to tell everybody?
Well, if you didn't catch that with the media brand, I did say sick week. So the plan right now, and I don't have a ticket to get there yet, but the plan is to tag along with you and
Yeah.
get some content for
Yep.
or from sick week for us.
Man, dude, listen, everybody, I'm buying a new camera this week. It just hasn't come in yet. So here's the cool part about that. I have rented a minivan. You guys are going to see the Drag and Drive Patrol just out and about everywhere. I intend to max the mileage. I don't even know if they give you that. Maybe it's unlimited for the week, but we're going to absolutely be everywhere. Hotel parking lots, the campgrounds, or the tracks. Eric doesn't know what he's getting into. I'm telling you right now, it's going to be pretty brutal on him because there'll be somebody else that can drive. And so if you see us hanging out the side of a minivan, just smile and wave and really enjoy, honk at us, all that kind of stuff. So I will tell you the next bit of stuff here is the Kyle Loftus video. It was really cool. And I hope my brother is watching because Kyle talked about some car stereo and how he led into drag racing. But dude, we were talking about the car stereo part of it, and you were telling me about this crazy Civic you had. Why don't you show them pictures of the Civic and tell them a little bit?
Yeah. So, well, if you haven't seen the Kyle Loftus video, it's really cool. You should check it out. He talks about kind of how he got started, and his first car was his dad's Neon, and he was real big into car audio and stuff. So talking to Mike, it reminded me that when I was in high school, I was in a similar situation. I didn't have a Neon, but I did have a Civic, and I was into visuals and car audio. So I will pull up these pictures here and we will take a look. So this was my car when I was in high school. I picked it up when I was 17, I believe. It was a 95 Civic. You know, Fast and Furious had just came out. This is what I was into. So, and then speaking of audio, uh, this would have been early 2000s. I had bought what was then very early on, very expensive in-dash TV screen. So it was probably about 10 times what you can buy one for today. And then in the trunk, two Kicker L7s, two 1300-watt amps, a 1 farad capacitor, and an extra screen in the back. So really,
What was the screen in the trunk floor for car shows?
yeah,
I mean,
going
you
to
had
car
Lambo
shows.
doors, so it had to be a car show car.
Yeah, it had neon lights. It had everything that you would expect of a car in the early 2000s.
Dude, that is so funny. I was never into a lot of that stuff. We always like to drag race. I did have two L5 10-inch subs in the back of a Volvo I drove for a while. All right, so that car stereo moves into drag racing. I think I liked the part about he's talking about all the equipment that he had and how I don't know. He just recorded with anything he could get his hands on, whatever he could afford. I think he said he took a $400 loan or something like that from somebody to buy a camera. I thought that was a really cool part of the story. And then him working at PayPal, you and I were talking about that earlier too, and how PayPal allowed him really to, well, I don't know if they allowed him to travel and work, but that's what he did.
Yeah, and not only that, when he had mentioned like, hey, they said, what's your plans? And he said, I really want to start this business and I want to grow it. And PayPal was like, hey, what do you need from us? What can we do? Which I thought was really cool
Yeah.
because a lot of companies nowadays they want to retain employees, and instead
Yeah.
PayPal was like, what do you need? And he said, well, I need to learn how to manage people. So they said, perfect, and they put him in a supervisor role, and that to me was really cool because I don't think a lot
Yeah.
of companies today would go out of their way that much to help somebody that's going to leave and start their own business.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think one of his big breaks, he said, come after a cash days he got invited to, and obviously that put on the trajectory of Street Outlaws and becoming friends with all those guys. And then their show takes off, his takes off. Everybody's into drag racing. Thought that was a pretty cool part. And then I think one of my favorite stories though is as he's adding people to the team, like he's not really 1099 in these folks. He's like paying them cash. Hey, come to this event with me. He's taking the time to then, hey, now they're an employee. So it's just a matter of growing. And I really feel like that's the next phase of what we're doing here is trying to grow and add people and be more places than one, or do more at one event than you can. And so I think that's
Right.
what some of the race car friend stuff allows us to do. And I'm excited about that for sure.
Right. It kind of reminded me of the fact that you said you were going to be at autocross during sixth summer. So
Hmm.
two events, same time. We're kind of talking about
Yeah.
trying to cover both of them. And although we're not the same company or same entity here, we're
Yep.
definitely helping each other out and helping each other grow. So that's the
Yep.
important part.
Yep. And I think that's what's going to, and Kyle is such as Ken talks about here in the comments, the coverage from these guys is how a lot of people are finding drag and drive. So, social media obviously is a big part of the entire car community, but these guys that put on really nice high production videos really help bring a lot to these events and things like that.
Yeah.
I think my favorite person on the whole thing was Scott Whitty, though. At the end, he was the very last speaker. And y'all, I'm telling you, I don't know what it was about him, but anytime you've ever seen him at an event, he is so, I don't know.
Happy,
Well,
energized.
man, I don't know. He always looks so serious to me. And maybe it's just because he's so busy, but like in that video, he was having fun. He was getting to tell stories. I mean, he didn't know much about cars when he started. Now, you can probably rattle off a ton of stuff.
Right, right, which I thought was kind of cool. And
Hmm.
I've only seen him at a couple events, but usually I see him smiling. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm catching him when he's just getting done recording or something. But
Well, he just saw you and he's like, oh, hey, there's Eric. Yeah. And he sees me. He's like, there's that guy again. That's
uh,
awesome. All right, dude. Well, I'm going to kick you off and I'm going to talk about these two dudes that we have down in the back room and
yeah,
introduce our new race car friends.
I
So,
don't know if anybody caught on. I don't think they did. I haven't seen
dude,
nothing yet. So
I know I hadn't seen anything in the comments. Nobody's even talked about this new thing right here. This new logo that's on the side. I'm really pumped about what this can bring. So I'm gonna kick you out of here. I'm gonna go over
yep,
some stuff and then I'm gonna bring these guys in. All right, y'all. Listen, when I say I'm excited about race car friend stuff, it's this kind of thing that allows us to do more and more and more for you guys, provide more content, more everything. That is what our race car friends are allowing us to do. So I'm going to bring in the gentleman from Molly Motorsports, and the first question we're going to ask him is, am I saying Molly Motorsports correctly? So first up is Eric Grillo and then Joe Malish. Y'all, welcome. I'm excited to have you here. Like I said, first question is, how do we say it and say it correctly?
Uh, so to say it correctly is Molly Motorsport.
Oh, perfect. Just like it's spelled. Well, I'll tell you this. I have an idea, and I want to say thank you to you guys. And I want to say thank you to everyone that watches this show every week. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take this Molly Motorsports hat right here on that I was going to have on my head, but I don't want to get it all Michael Narks smelly. Okay. Take this and two of the four decals that were sent as part of this whole deal. And I'm going to give it away to somebody in the chat tonight live. That's the biggest thing. You've got to be watching the show live, right? Because we're making this announcement. I'm so excited about it. Hang on. Let's do this. How about, nope. That's not what I wanted to do. Well, anyways, back here it says drag and drive and then Molly over here. I'll get that changed over here in just a minute. So if you are in the chat tonight and you type hashtag race car friends, Eric, if you'll type it out, Eric White, Eric 2, if you'll type it out now and let them let them know how to spell it. If you guys will type that, we're going to have Joe or Eric, one is what we're calling him tonight, pick a number between 1 and however many, and that'll be the number we pick for the winner of the episode of the hat and decals, and I'll send them out on my dime as a way to say thank you to everybody that follows along. Well, guys, let's jump in and introduce who you are. Obviously, people that don't know that all of this is happening, we've got to catch them up on who Molly is, who you guys are, and all that kind of stuff. So why don't you tell us who you are and then what you do for Molly, and then we're going to just jump into project cars. And you're here because you're also drag and drive racers and fans as well. So whoever wants to go first.
Joe Malish, marketing manager here at Molly Motorsport. And
what's that mean daily for you?
a lot of different things. You could be coming in and shipping out banners and pistons, sending to somebody for a show, and then the next thing you're doing, you're on Photoshop, preparing stuff to put on social media, and then somebody calls up with this question, and then answering sales calls. So I always say that no 2 days are the same, which is actually really nice.
Yeah, that keeps you on your toes for sure. And then Eric, tell us about yourself, dude.
Yeah, technically product manager for Molly Motorsports, but I'll trace that back. I've been here just about ready to turn over 20 years. So a number of different roles, starting with applications engineering. I've been a design engineer, kind of took over the engineering management for a period, and that's gradually evolved to now where my role, we're overseeing sales, marketing, and all of our still product engineering and development, anything that's coming out on the engineering or application side.
So what do you guys how many times a day do you guys talk to each other?
To each other?
Yeah, it depends.
I would figure it's a bunch. You got social media, you got product, you're everybody's asking for something 20 minutes ago,
I'll tell you what, we have a pretty unique office, and we get here, we're pretty much down to business, trying to knock things out, be quite honest with you. And I've worked in a lot of different environments. I worked in chaotic environments, working at racetracks and stuff like this. And when I first came here, you could tell, we get the business every day, and that's probably the nice thing. So I try to, my rule is probably 2 times a day that I'll chat with Eric, and we just try to get it done.
That's awesome.
And the thing is, Molly's known as this huge global entity, but the motorsports group is a very small portion of that. And we like to think we do a lot with very little. So that amount of free time and interaction split it between what we do internally and external customers and dealing with teams and development, manufacturing, it all adds up pretty quick. And I think you were asking a question about our group. We're probably 150, 160 strong when we got production and everything else. But our sales and engineering, kind of the core team that drives who we are, the visible part that people can see, is about 15 people.
Wow.
So again, we feel like we do a lot with a little, and it definitely keeps us on our toes.
Man, the amount of places I see you guys and you're posting and all that kind of stuff, I can't imagine doing all that and all the events and everything and all the cars that you work with and teams and everything. I can't imagine doing that with 15 people. But hey, it's about efficiency, right?
Yes, and 15 quality people makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, I was talking to Joe the other day, and we were kind of going over some history. I'd like for you guys to be able to tell kind of the history, why Molly Motorsports was started and why it wasn't just rolled into everything, and then when it started, of course.
I think, we were just talking about this the other day, that, the North American division started in the year 2000. While Molly's been around as a global entity since 1920, the North American division, it started in 2000, and in 23 years, it's come a long way very quickly to where we offer, everything from working with professional race teams like in NASCAR, with a lot of professional drag racers that are out there, to our power pack pistons that we offer that people can buy through a lot of different dealers that are out there, to custom pistons, And not just that, but just overall, every day, all the questions that we get, people asking us about different engine applications. So while it's only been around for 20 years, it seems like to me, it's been around a lot longer.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long time, like especially in our lifetime. I don't know how old you guys are, but that's half my life. So
And I think Eric can add to that. He's, obviously been with the company a lot longer and probably has a little bit more insight overall.
I think the cool part of our history is, even though it was happening globally, we had a short time here in the U.S. I mean, we were around when aluminum pistons were a novel idea for an internal combustion engine. Prior to the early 20s, they were trying to make everything out of cast iron, and it's actually struggled to make an aluminum piston work. To see that have progressed over the years and all the piston evolution that's happened, gasoline and diesel, and look at even 10 years ago, look at the piston from then to today, it's still evolving. And that's sort of the interesting part of having worked as a piston engineer for 20 years. There's still stuff I'm figuring out every day or trying to figure out. So it's very engaging opportunity, and there's a lot of knowledge and background that we get to draw from. Kind of makes what we do somewhat unique.
yeah, and I mean, anytime I would always think the rotational mass of stuff is how you can make more power. If it weighs less, that's better. If you can do that through a piston that's going to last longer, that's even better.
Yes.
And then, and there's probably a 2-hour technical answer for that. What I just said that you guys know inside and out. I do want to talk about the Molly Motorsports moving from, coming in. Obviously, you guys are in North Carolina. We all know what happens in North Carolina. There's a lot of guys that like to turn left. So how do we, what's the 10,000-foot flyover of circle track to, now you're heavily involved in most of the drag and drive events across the country. What are you guys seeing on your level of stuff, and why do you like the drag and drive culture so much for car wise, anyways, like engine performance?
It's a difficult question to answer. Any drag race, the other applications, we have a very strong presence in circle track, without a doubt, but we've always done a little bit of everything. So we've kind of had to step back and say, how do we make that known better? It's not necessarily new or novel to us. It's just getting the word out of, hey, we do this too, so to speak. But as an entity, the drag and drive stuff is unique. Which I feel like I'm going to be preaching to the preacher in this case. Just the atmosphere, the community that it has that supports it. You look at the type of racers that come out to race, and you look at the spectators that follow, the people that want to race. It's a unique crowd, and it's exciting to see what they can do and the potential that's there. I like to think of it, we're trying to engage with the racers and the spectators. And, you think of some of the spectators that come out to these events, particularly, the night races get good crowds. And then you've got the guys that race during the day where you can still get some of those big crowds. And these are guys that are taking off work to come out to see this event in the middle of the week, and taking off work, wink, wink. If that's a potential customer, and I were to rank potential customers, that's the guy I want to talk to that has that kind of passion and enthusiasm for something. So there's opportunity from both competitors, spectators, everybody that follows the event, everybody that wants to do the event. There's a huge amount of potential there that's built on enthusiasts and passion.
Yeah, just to add, I think from my experience attending the events and going with Eric when he takes his Nova, is just the adventure of all of it. And the message that I kind of relayed back to Eric and the others that are here is that what it reminded me of a lot is when I would go down to Baja and spend time down there, you were always going around, moving around, going to different places, pre-running, having a lot of fun doing that. And for a lot of people who do drag and drive, it is about the survival of the event. you know, getting the car to the end. You know, yeah, you're making your passes, but it's also about, you know, the hundreds of miles that you put on the road every single day and not having mechanicals, not having issues. And if you do, you know, there's so many people that are there with a helping hand. And that's so unique, in my opinion, in motorsport. I mean, you see it happen often in circle track racing, in off road, you know, just like in anything. But uh, it's just a really great crowd. And the feedback that we've always had is any drag racing event that we attend, the questions from the participants are just so technically strong.
Yeah.
And we just really enjoy talking with everybody and getting our brand out there. And we sometimes we take, you know, back from those events that, hey, maybe we don't have the right application. Maybe we need to work on something a little bit more to make it better and offer that down the road. So it's, for us, there's so many angles of it that are wins. And for us, to me anyway, it's a no-brainer.
Well, and I saw Nivlite 57 in earlier, and those guys were specifically at PRI, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. They were at PRI to find some piston solutions for the Vortec 4200, and it looks like they just, let's see, we just got our Molly Motorsports pistons custom made for the Vortec 4200 in the mail today. So perfect timing with those guys, and they're coming to Sick Week. They're gonna really push on that car. I mean, I think it's got some big plans for that event. So it's exciting to see. I think that's one thing that I like about seeing these vendors and sponsors at these events is it allows you to have that conversation. And I was talking with George Wright at Midwest Drags, you know, for a few days, and just the knowledge of you guys that come out is, I mean, there's definitely not somebody just working the tent, which we've had in the past at other events I've attended. You guys are sending somebody out that knows what they're talking about. So that was really cool to see. I do want to talk about project cars though, because Eric's raced some stuff. I know he's got a couple different things he's raced at events, but Joe, you and I never talked about the cars you have. So let's start with Eric and kind of give us a recap of, you know, the two cars you've taken on Dragon Drives, and then what the plan is for those.
Gotcha. Primary, I got a 72 Nova. I guess I have a long history with everything because I've owned that car since I was in high school too. So it's evolved over the years. Naturally aspirated small block right now, stick shift car. So I've ran it in some of the index classes. It's not super fast, but fun to drive. So some of the index and the street machine eliminator, I'll put it in a small block when the time is right. A couple of the events. Just this past fall drag week, it ran its best time out at actually at Indy. First time it dipped in the tens and ended up with like a 1080 average for the week. So for me, I was thrilled. Awesome. And then when the Nova's not running, because it's a stick car, I've got a old 71 GMC truck that kind of fills in the void. Not fast, but it actually ran Sick Week last winter, just because it was a backup plan. But it's in the garage now, kind of getting some upgrades to it. At least, put it into some of the index classes and hoping to make it pseudo. I don't want to use the word competitive, but at least make a good showing of it, right?
Well,
those are two primary vehicles.
Yeah, you talk about competitive index classes at Rocky Mountain, and dude, you're talking about your average needs to be an O. Like, there's no way around it. If you're going to place out there, you need to have an O after whatever first digit you're running.
Yes,
I do like that they go all the way to 14.0 index. That's a pretty cool setup.
My first event with Rocky Mountain, I put it in an index class, and I realized, I can do this. It'll be good. Eye opening.
Yeah. Yep. So I do want, that's one thing I think we're going to see in the future is more bracket racers coming over, because, classes like the DYO class, those guys can run a 13.3. And if that's what their bracket car runs, those guys can come over and clean house. I mean, bracket cars always do really well at index and, consistency racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoy the variety of some of those classes. I mean, it's fun to watch the fast cars, and they have their, deserve every bit of respect that they get too. But it's also, you can take a slow car that can hit the number over and over. And, at an event like Rocky Mountain where you're 5,000 foot elevation, you're 3,000 foot elevation, the temperatures are different, and still do it down to the zero. So it's an impressive class no matter which level you're entered at.
Yeah, that's right. Joe, what project cars you got, man?
I don't have any. I offered to buy Eric's C10 before we met on here, but he told me it's not for sale. So I've always wrenched on cars. I mean, I started wrenching on late models when I was 15, and the last vehicle I wrenched on, and it was for 5 years, was a trophy truck. And I'm hoping, here in the next year is to get an old project and start putting it together and maybe do a little drag and drive. We'll see.
That's awesome. Now, one thing people may not know about me on here is that I mountain bike quite a bit, and you're an avid mountain biker as well, and live in a great part of the country to do that. So I think the reason I'm saying this because I think that means I'm going to have to come out there and mountain bike. That's the reason I need to make that trip.
I think you should. We have a lot of good food around here too. Good trails.
Yeah.
There's some drag strips that are nearby.
Yeah, that's perfect.
I think Eric and we could entertain you. I don't think you would complain at all.
That's awesome. Well, I know a lot of folks are wondering, we do got, with you guys being who you are within the company, is there like a secret backroom R&D that maybe some skunk works type stuff that people are working on? Because I'm looking at your list here. I mean, you got like Porsche and Diesel, Elite Sportsman, obviously the Power Pack pistons and piston rings. Is there stuff working on that maybe we can't talk about?
Yes.
Very our R&D is the racetrack. And for the reason that you touch on, I mean, naturally there's some things we work on in the background, but if you look at the majority of where new developments come from, where advances come from, it happens on the track and or in, engine shops, builders that are putting things together and finding things, hopefully before they get to the track. But and that variety of applications for us to say that we could stay on the forefront of all those various applications and be able to have a cutting edge product, it's very difficult to do. So we rely on builders and customers, and the reality of it is racers are going to find let's say creative ways to push parts that we can't imagine, and in ways that uses that we can't duplicate readily. So just this industry moves so fast and adapts so quickly that if you've got a good contingency of builders and teams that you can work with, that's 90% of R&D right there. In addition to the things that you're trying to bring to the table in the background.
Yeah. And I think with that said, just to add to it, I've been with the company for 4 years, and I definitely felt like I knew motorsports in and out. And then I start reading, some of the reports that they put together, for a piston analysis, when they have a failure or something may not be to the liking of the engine builder. And, reading that, I just realized, well, I really don't know anything. I mean, it's just light years ahead of concepts and, theory and real world of what works. And it's fascinating. And that's one thing that I'm probably most proud of with this company and what the engineers do here is that, they'll take something that comes in and it looks like it's a failure and it potentially is the piston's fault. But the more and more information we get to it and more information that we have, we're able to break that down, take a look at it. And out of it comes that discussion of, well, if we do this, or if the engine builder were to do this, and then we can advise them to ultimately get better performance that they're looking for and gain an advantage or gain performance on the track. And that is just something that every time I read them, this blows my mind. It is how I always take it.
Right. Anytime somebody can put a hole in a piston and you guys can tell them what happened, that'll help them the next time.
Yeah.
Or bust a ringland or whatever. Those are terms people use for boosted stuff. I'm sure that stuff happens in other things too. But we talked about some drag and drive events earlier. What are some things that you guys have? Like, what are events that you have coming up that you're going to attend?
Well, I mean, I don't. Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, we've got a little bit of everything on the schedule. You know, we've got the affiliation with Rocky Mountain, and we'll be at both of their events this year. You mentioned George. Appreciate you giving him a shout. We'll be back at Midwest Drags as well. You know, it's kind of exciting that there's a few of the I shouldn't have not Drag Week. Sorry, Drag Week as well. So you know, definitely trying to hit all the big events. But I was going to say it's exciting some of the local regional stuff that we're starting to see creeping up, and that's probably a good excuse for you to make it up here with the street meet just starting down the road about 30 minutes from us. So you know, we're going to branch out and try to hit at least experience and see what's going on with some of the other events.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Miles of Mayhem is going to stay a bucket list, but maybe one day we'll extend our reach up there too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my passport for that one for sure. I am excited about the 8th Mile stuff that's coming. I think we haven't even really tapped into that at all. There's some, Rowdy Radial out of Rocky Mountain, is now being added, the 235 8th Mile class to Sick Week, which is a huge plus. As we see a lot of those, 4-second street cars, 5-second, 4 and 5-second 8th Mile cars come into Drag and Drive, I think we really have an untapped potential there that nobody's even seen yet. I think we can handle several events a year for just in that 8th Mile grouping because there's so many more tracks.
Yeah, it definitely opens up some possibilities. And I can't imagine the logistic nightmare that they go through trying to schedule some of these events. So having options is only going to help.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then you guys with Street Meet and then Carolina Drag Cruise as well out there. You guys are like becoming the only spot. There's 4 events there in that part of the country. Both of them are 8th Mile and both of them are 4-day events. It's going to be awesome. Well, I guess Street Meet is a 5-day event this year. I do want to ask you from y'all's perspective, what are the most successful racers doing to make it through the week that others don't?
I think it boils down to having some consistency, being able to, I think it's hard to nail down the failure modes and predict what's going to happen if you've got a combination that's changing every other week, every other event that you go to. You see some guys that are running similar combinations and you can tell they flat out just have them worked out. So kind of knowing that background of what your combination is and sorting out those bugs, the repetition of doing it is what really, to me, drives the success. I see as successful racers have. And you can throw preparation in there, but that's a little bit of a two-edged sword as well, I think.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is prepare everything that you can possibly control. Okay. And on the component side, you got to hope that whoever put together that piece of equipment or that part was having a really good day when they did it. Because sometimes those outside things are just out of your control, right?
Yeah.
And but the main things that you can control, I think that just speaks across any type of motorsports I've ever seen, are the people who really thoroughly spend their time to prepare and really think it through. Of what they have to do to complete whatever it might be, a race, a week, whatever it is.
Yep. And then when you guys think of drag and drive events and what all that Molly offers, what are some things that excite you for the future? Like as far as, more engine combos, like, Coyote setups, LS became the leader of the world, like I was on the website earlier. You guys are offering more and more and more availability of parts. Like, what is something that you look forward to for the future of that? As we see more, more engine platforms, all that kind of stuff come to the market.
You've touched on just trying to stay at the forefront of applications, not only as new ones are introduced, but as existing platforms evolve.
Yep.
You know, we're continually having to try to revamp, existing parts because, again, that whole notion of racers are finding new ways to use them to push them harder. I mean, every company out there's had a small block Chevy in their lineup forever. We just introduced some new revamped small block Chevy parts. Why? Because it continues to evolve and change, and you have to keep up with the times and keep up with different trends and evolution of how engines are being built, how they're being ran. It's been, I hate to even wager at the number of years, but E85 kind of changed a lot of perceptions of I have this part on the shelf and what I think it's going to do. And suddenly you start taking some octane requirements and changing compression ratios. 12-to-1 turbo motors was unheard of 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But only now we have a 12-to-1 piston. We can't assume that that's a naturally aspirated motor anymore. So there's been this continuous evolution of existing parts and trying to keep up with new applications. And, it's that's I don't want to say that's enough to keep you busy, but it's close.
Yeah, the 150 people in the facility that builds all this stuff are like, what are we doing? What are we building this hour? What are we building next hour? Is this a Porsche piston, and this is a Coyote piston, and this is a LS Gen 4 piston? Man, you guys have a ton of fun over there for sure.
Yeah, I think, just from some of the feedback that we've had a little bit, and I'm interested to see what people start doing with the Godzilla, and how that rolls out. And, you've seen a few different applications that have been out there that people are starting to use it with. But really, Eric touched on it, small block Chevy. It was a couple years ago, but, just did a redesign on the forging with that. And we were having a discussion about this 2 weeks ago, and Eric made a great point. He said, here's something that's an older technology. This engine's been around for a long time, and we're still, revamping it and trying to improve it. So that way the end user has a lighter, stronger piston to use. And even big block Mopar, there were, stroker applications that we added to that this year. So it's always evolving for improvement. You just don't know where it's going to come from or what it's going to be. And that's the nice part about attending a lot of these events, is that we get a lot of great feedback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw Danny Fatka ask about Oldsmobile parts all ago. I'm sure you guys have a wide variety of that stuff too. There's an application guide on the website, just so everybody understands. You can go there and see what all is offered, and then obviously you guys can call and probably talk to one of these two guys too if you need to.
Yeah, I didn't want to get him excited, but I thought I should throw out there that's in that deep back room skunk works. That's where we're working on that one. But in all honesty, there is some new old stuff that we've got on that one. So anything's possible.
That's awesome. And this is just a question that came to me, but what are some things that does anything cross over? Like there's a Porsche piston that would work in a small block Chevrolet or something that you've got. I'm just I can't imagine the amount of stuff that you guys work through on that. Like, oh, hey, this is actually the same bore and the wrist pin is kind of in the same spot. Like that may work.
It's becoming harder. There was a little bit more of that, when you had a typical 4-inch small block with flat top, and you could maybe shift the valve pocket a little bit to make it work. Particularly in more modern engines, the head configurations, what you have to do to get valve placement and compression, it's becoming more and more difficult. Not that we don't still get asked those questions and have to kind of do the research and dig and see what options there are, but just with the proliferation of engines, it's becoming a little harder to have success in.
Right. Nivlak 57 years says Subaru pistons are very close to fitting a Vortec 4200. Now that's funny. I would figure he would be trying some stuff like that. Let's run. If guys, you have some, or Eric, if there's been some comments that kind of come up like this, I think these are some good things. If you guys want to run through some chat comments, says, what about obscure pulling tractor stuff? Weird giant cylinders.
Unfortunately, no. There are some limitations that we put based on either too small of a bore size, or when the bore starts to get too big, the 5-inch stuff just machine limitations that we don't have to do to be able to handle everything in such a wide range. Specialized in some cases in what we do.
Yeah, Danny says he uses a big block Chevy, but requires a bit more crank work. Can appreciate that. Now, just a reminder to everybody that has come in since then, if you comment hashtag Racecar Friends in the comments in the chat, we are going to draw for the Molly Motorsports hat and two. What's this dude's name? What is who's that guy?
That's Herbert.
Nice. Now, what's the backstory on him?
Or Airbird, Mr. Burt, technically is what it is. It's basically, reminiscent of, Molly and they're basically a mascot, if you will.
Yeah. Well, it's super fun, and it's going to be on the back of my daily driver, and then obviously that's got to go on the shop fridge. Now, I don't know what the guys that win the hat or the decals, what they're going to do with them, but yeah, mine's on the back of the car and the shop fridge for sure. And then now I'm wearing this super nice Molly hoodie that I'm probably one of my new favorites. Where can people go and buy this stuff? Like, is there a spot on the website to buy this?
Unfortunately, our website doesn't work that way where you can go on there and point and click, but you can call us at 888-255-1942, and we'll get you fitted and ship it right out to you via UPS or FedEx and assist you with that.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, cool. You got a whole sales department, I'm sure, answering the phone and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
The
So
better answer is come see us at an event and we'll right on site.
Excellent point.
That's exactly right. And we talked about events a little bit earlier. You guys are going to be everywhere this year. So, you sent George out to Midwest Drags. Is where I saw him. We'll see. Is there who's working sick week and who's working now? Eric, you raced in Rocky Mountain. Are you racing again, or is it like a combo? You carry the tent in the back of the race car or truck and set up and race and all that stuff.
A variety. We've done it both ways, and it may depend on whether it's the truck or the car out there. The car's not as conducive to. Sometimes it's lucky to pull its own weight, but with the truck you've got the luxury of having the added space. But usually we, as you mentioned, we try to send, even if we're racing, bring another guy with us, so we've got somebody to kind of interact and catch people. But I was looking back of the events that we've done, 7 or 8 over the last couple of years. I think I've had a different co-pilot for every event. We kind of switch around, let some engineers, sales guys, everything from guys answering the phone all the way up to our general manager have been on one of the events just to get exposure to what we do, which is good for us as well. Yeah. To have the full experience and be able to interact on that. So combination of both, but one way or another, we'll have parts and information out. We like to put parts on the table that people can pick up, see, feel, versus looking online and the catalog, etc.
Yeah, I think that was one of the neat things about Midwest Drags was just talking to him. And I mean, like, I wasn't looking for Pistons at that point. I hadn't heard anything lately. But, just to go through and be able to hold them and touch them and feel them and all that kind of stuff was really nice, especially for racers that were really interested in upgrading their engines throughout the year or throughout the winter. I guess do we even have a winter anymore? Like, I don't feel like we do. There's no off season with 26 drag and drive events.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Problem to have.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, as we wind down, if I could have a favor from you guys and pick, let's do this. How about we do a number between 1? I think how many we got, Eric? 2. We got 17. Give me a thumbs up if you're counting 17 like I am. I don't know if he can hear me. He's back counting them all. I think he's 16. So give us a number between 1 and 16, and we'll send that person. I'll message them after this and send them the hat and 2 decals.
That's your number, Joe.
Oh, we'll go with 3.
Perfect. So number 3 is Hey, Nolan Motorsports Media. Perfect. All right. So congratulations to Nolan Motorsports Media. I will message you after this or send us a message on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way to find me. dragondrive.com on Instagram, and send us a message and we'll start getting these shipped out to you. Congratulations to them. That's exciting. But you know what that means? Now I got to make the phone call into you guys. I got to get me another hat. So I'll need to do that. So that's awesome. Why don't you tell me the number again, and I'll put it here in the comments for tech questions, and then where all these other folks can get all their super cool Molly swag as well.
Sure. It's 888 255 1942.
1942. All right, I'm putting that in the section here, Molly Motorsports. And hopefully you guys will be overrun with calls. I would imagine somebody's manning those phones, 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, or 9 to 5, something like that, Eastern time,
Yeah.
right?
8 through 5, Monday through Friday. That's correct.
Perfect. Awesome. That's pretty neat. I really appreciate you guys being on tonight. I'm excited. One, I mean, obviously, thank you for taking a chance on us and supporting us with the brand sponsorship. I hope that the folks in the chat understand how important that is for us, but also how much of a leap you guys took in faith in us. So I hope that it brings everybody to you. We need everybody running Molly Motorsports parts, whether it be piston rings or pistons. Power pack pistons, that's going to be my new phrase. That's the way I'm referring to pistons from now on, is power pack pistons. It doesn't matter. So all that stuff. And then I will see you guys. How far from Sick Week are you guys? Are you a couple hours, or are you 6 or 7? I'm trying to think if I could make a bombing run up to see you guys.
I think we're more like 9 or 10.
Ooh,
maybe 8,
yeah.
Maybe around 8. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little far. We'll see how the end of the week goes, but I haven't bought my ticket home yet. So who knows what'll happen at the end of the week? Maybe I just take an extra day off of work and kick back. So we'll see what goes on. We all thank you again so much. I'll put obviously all the Molly information down in the description. I haven't added the description to these videos yet. I'll put that down there. I'm not going to give everybody your email addresses because I don't want you guys to be overrun, because you have an amazing sales and tech department. So, we'll let everybody answer all that stuff. And then
go ahead. We've got just a general tech and sales email that you can share that will come in and get distributed to wherever it needs to go. And that'd be excellent if you want to put that so that there is some real direct contact information there.
Oh, perfect. Do you want to give it to me here, and then I'll add it in the notes later? Yeah, he's like, I don't know what it is off of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's gosh, even I sometimes get it. So for technical support, it's motorsport.tech@molly.com.
Perfect.
And
So
for sales, it's motorsport.sales@molly.com. And either give us a call or send us an email. Be happy to assist you in any way.
Yep, that's awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on tonight. I know it's getting late out that way, so I appreciate you guys coming in here and hanging out. And I will guarantee everybody that's watching this now and later, this won't be the last time you guys are on. We obviously had to get you guys introduced to the community, but from here on out, it's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk in-depth stuff. You guys, your knowledge base is so much deeper than what obviously anything we've talked about tonight. So what I would suggest is what I did a little bit over the last few days of us setting all this up is go to your website or go to your YouTube channel too. You have a ton of in-depth videos. There's a lot of, I think I saw a piston analysis on there. I really enjoyed that video. They're very easy to consume.
There's a great library of how-tos that are on there. And that have hundreds of thousands of views. People, as they go onto YouTube, just typing in there about different things, they get great traction. They are full of knowledge, and our engineers do a great job in describing specifically how to do everything correctly.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll agree with that. It was really, I mean, you guys are just expanding my knowledge all the time. So there's going to be a lot of stuff that we'll talk about in the future with other racers that, maybe we'll have you guys on for technical knowledge and things like that. And of course, we're going to see you guys at some events this year. So I'm excited about that. Maybe I can catch some co-pilot seat time with Eric at one of the events or something like that. Ride a leg with him between checkpoints or something.
Happy to have you.
Perfect. Well, thanks a bunch, guys. I'm gonna send you guys on to your regular night. You're more than welcome to hang out backstage. We're gonna talk to Camron Thorpe, who is the most competitive racer of 2022, and then I don't know, probably gonna go grab a beer from the shop fridge, and we'll sit here and chit chat in the comments and things like that. So, thank you very much again, guys. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dude, that was so much fun. Hang on, I'm bringing Eric on right now. How cool was that, man? Like, listen, I think what's funny is they probably had to dumb down their technical stuff for me so much that they're like, "Oh my gosh, man, this guy." But
No,
it's
that was
really fun.
awesome.
Oh, dude, I love those guys. It's really fun to see, like, to know what those guys know and how much they can. I don't know. They could have gone for hours on talking about, and you think about in the whole scheme of all of car stuff, pistons is just one part that it takes. It's just
Right.
that little part. So, but that's all those guys do is focus on that and how they build that and all that kind of stuff. So, Camron has been backstage for a little while. I would like to. Here's my water. I was going to say I'd have to run out to the fridge real quick. The only thing about the podcast room is that it just is so dry in here. I'm going to get me a humidifier. So I want to say thanks to everybody that made comments. Hashtag Racecar Friends is hopefully we're going to be trending on it tomorrow with as many that were in there. I'll get this in the mail tomorrow morning for Nolan if they sent me a message on Instagram about with their address and all that kind of stuff. I appreciate everybody that made comments. I'm excited to have Molly on board. I think it's going to be really fun. It's going to allow us just so much more behind the scenes stuff that maybe we haven't seen before. Not that they would have not given that info beforehand, but now it just opens up so many doors for us. And guys, it allows us to travel more. It allows me to go attend more events. It allows me to do more stuff like I survived a drag and drive decal. It allows for more merch. It allows for everything, but what it allows the most is new equipment, dude. I'm so excited. I've been looking. I don't know if anybody has done research on cameras in a long time, but holy geez, the amount of cameras, like, I'm looking at video cameras, I'm looking at new GoPros, I'm looking at, I just got a new iPhone, all this kind of stuff. I'm looking at all that and I'm like, man, what do I do? What is the right scenario for all of this stuff that I've got coming? So anyways,
if I had an answer, I would have already bought one myself. So,
dude, it's wild to think about that. I appreciate Dirty Panda making all the hashtag Racecar Friends comments, man. I appreciate him all the time. He's always a huge supporter of the channel and all that. So, all right, dude, I say we bring in Camron. This is going to be a fun one. I've known Camron. I'll tell just a quick story. Welcome, sir. Dude, I think I had it wrong the other day. I think we met. No, I had it right. We met for the first time, Race Week 2020.
Louder now? Yeah.
Yep. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. You're good audio. We're good on that side. Look at the wall behind him. That's what's the coolest thing. There's a lot of trophies back there, man. I'll tell you this, the Thorpe family is a huge part of the Rocky Mountain family. Now we have Rocky Mountain Race Week and then Race Week, but all that is under the Rocky Mountain umbrella. So you guys have a ton of fun with that. You guys have been to every drag and drive event that Rocky Mountain has put on, which is pretty cool. And then you have I think you said in Jesse, the 3G video interview that came out today or yesterday, that you guys have a standing invitation at any Rocky Mountain event. Is that right?
Me, my dad, Carlos Astor, Eric Wilson, and Vince Rue. We've been to every single one. My mom missed this last one, unfortunately. But yeah, we have a standing invitation. We can contact them shortly before and be able to get in. So it was I guess, super veteran status. So it's really
Yep.
cool because it's been tough to go all these years, and it's tough to keep going, and you never know till the last second sometimes.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. And going back through your dad in the G8, you took it the first year. Now we're going to get into some of this in a little bit, but if you guys watched the Drag and Drive news over the weekend, I kind of covered some of this stuff, and you corrected me. Now, did you raced your dad's G8 in 2019? Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So I was planning on having the car done, but that was some pipe dreams, I guess. So took another year, but yeah.
You cut the floor out of it, man.
Yeah. Training tunnel in the back floor, so it's just minor stuff, you know.
Yeah, just minor stuff. Now, if you guys don't know, you race a maroon Volvo wagon, and I'm gonna search through and get some pictures of it here in just a second. I'll actually pull it up now. So let's actually talk about 2022 is absolutely insane for you, right? So you competed in 4, and when I say national drag and drive events, I want people to understand, like, dude, that's a bunch. That's a lot.
Yeah, 'cause you're talking 4 or 5. You got travel time and everything because they're so far spread out now, which is cool because you get to go to new places, but it's a lot of travel time in between.
Yep. All right, hang on. I've got the picture pulled up here. Sorry, everybody, hang tight with me. Let's do this here. How's that? So this is a picture I created the other day for the video on the Drag and Drive News. But we definitely will talk about the setup in the car, because I mean, anytime you say 10-second Volvo wagon, I think people are like, okay, whatever. But dude, the car is, I feel like, dead nuts reliable. You drive it to some of these events, you drive it on the event. I mean, you know, there wasn't a whole lot of trailering it everywhere. Now, am I right in that your 6-week average is your fastest so far, right? At 10.511?
Yeah, average wise, I would have had a faster average at 6 week or drag week if I would have turned in my fastest slips, but it was trying to hit the DYO class or trying to be a 10th high so I could actually run the number the last day of drag week for Street Machine Eliminator. So, because my fastest pass ever was at drag week actually, and it was a 10:37 at 130. So, and that was full interior hitch, everything. Didn't take any weight out of it. The air was just that good that day. So
that's awesome. Nivlak 57 says that thing is cool. Now, I did see the car. I mean, dude, I'll tell you, I fangirled a little bit in 2020 when I saw it on the event, because I found you a Sloppy Mechanics. I don't know if we have any Sloppy Mechanics people that are watching tonight, but listen, saw the car there first, and then obviously started following you on Instagram shortly after that, because that's probably where you post the most, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much where everything's at the moment. So
yep. And you can follow it. I'll make the comment here. It's on Instagram. It is bricked over 6.0. So now, does that mean that the car has a 6-liter in it, or is that like?
Yeah, it's what I started with was a 6-liter iron block out of a 99 Silverado. So that's what the block is. So
Gotcha. Well, you want to go into some of the detail of what the combo is? Maybe kind of tell us a little bit. I know it's got an LSA on it, but that's really about all I knew internally of it.
Yeah. Originally, I was going to do something simple, a 5.3 I had sitting around with low oil pressure, but took it apart, spun cam bearings. It wasn't worth keeping around. So ended up searching around on Craigslist, found this guy. He had a LSA blower with a lid, camshaft, springs, oil pan, bunch of stuff for sale. I ended up getting it for $1,400 back in about 17 and a half, 18. Dang. And that started that whole path there. That 5.3 took the crank and rods out of it because they were 05, so they're the good strong ones, LS2 ones.
Yep.
Had those all machined for the 6-liter. Got it all. I assembled all that myself. It's kind of nervous building your first motor, but it's worked pretty good. And
it's an LS. Like, you probably didn't have to torque anything down or anything. Just Uggas and things.
No, I was bad. I bought the $25 book on all the little tricks when you're putting them together, just to try and make sure everything's good. And I'm happy I checked bearing clearances because I had stock size main bearings, and they came in like 9-10 thousandths clearance. And if I would have not changed those out for oversized bearings, I would have had a whole mess on my hand real quick. So, but then that blower and stuff came with 821 Silverado heads too, rec ports. So I was able to get all those cleaned up, inking all exhaust valves, intake valves, just all stock GM stuff, just pulling from the stock bin. So lots of OEM parts. They put a lot of R&D in it for a reason. So might as well use it. So, and I have an LS9 cam in there too. It's been in there since the beginning. That's still what's in it at the moment. So
Wow.
nice mellow cam.
Yep.
So gonna do something more aggressive here eventually. So
yeah. What trans and converter and all that stuff do you have in it?
So started fabrication. I had a 4L60 that was built. Decided that was a bad idea. Sloppy mechanics. You see all the memes. Just know it's not going to work out. But ended up with a 4L80 ultimate converter. It stalls about 3,800. Want something nice for the street, and it's nice with any of the boost stuff. Is it'll drive nice down low, but once you get into boost, it really will push into the converter and make power, but still drive nice down low.
Yep.
And then from there, so I did mini tubs on it, 3¼ inch mini tubs in the back, and worked with my chassis guy here in Brighton, someone who grew up with my dad. Willie Webb's his name.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of some of the streetcar stuff in the 90s actually. But his main setups usually makes as a ladder bar car. So he orders a center section with axle tubes from Mosier, and then completely custom chromoly ladder bars on my car to fit underneath the floor, not tear up the back seats.
Yep.
Keep it all underneath there. AFCO double adjustable shocks. Started out with a spool, had that in there for about 600 miles. And I think if you're bushed or something in your rear suspension or leaf spring, you can get away with it. But with a solid Heim joint ladder bar, it was a little
brutal.
You go back up in a parking lot, or you're out there in the rain and the supercharger hits when you're turning a corner in the rain at a traffic light, and you're just like, I don't really enjoy this. So ended up changing to a wave track. It's been good to me so far. Been beating on it last year and the year before. So it's got 20,000 miles on it. It's been good to me. So the setup, it's always kind of playing with it, but all the years of doing Rocky Mountain Race Week from 2015 as a co-pilot on, really it was always looking at what people were doing, looking at what worked.
Mm-hmm.
And just sometimes it's just keeping it simple and trying not to overdo it. So
yeah, and I think you're talking about having a LS9 cam, and I mean that's a great cam for what you're doing now. Obviously, you go something completely way rowdier, you pick up more power, you go faster, all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, like, yeah, dude, I mean, it's that cam. Again, R&D for millions of dollars of R&D, and that cam performs well enough to, put you 1030s. That's amazing.
Yep, and it's 550 lift. I've just got packed 1218 X valve springs in there, beehives, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
The only thing about that is no matter what cam, or especially GM, we thought we could trust it. Put the cam in there and degreed it, and it was 8 degrees retarded. So I had to use all 8 degrees on my Chloe's timing set just to get the cam to 121 degrees where it was supposed to be. So checking stuff pays off. Sometimes if you just put it together, you don't know what's wrong, and it's tough for backtrack and trying to figure it out. So
what are you using for wiring? Or are you on a stock ECU, or do you have a Terminator?
So back when I built the car, thank God at least the Dominators were cheaper. It was before Terminators came out. I bought the ECU probably 18. And I got the whole harness from Holly, laid it out. I think about 3 weeks before Rocky Mountain Race Week, that first time, I had the whole harness just from the firewall out, just completely opened up the loom and was rerunning stuff, because those LSAs, everything, the manifold air temps in a different spot. I wanted all the cable stuff gone because I was doing drive-by-wire. So I was sitting there stripping the harness out, and my buddy's sitting there looking at me. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm fixing it." It's like, I just got to fix it. So, but yeah, that's running the transmission, dual wideband Bosch sensors. I've got E85 sensor in line in the back. So I've got the little 3.5-inch touchscreen that I bought the whole combo. It came with it. And I just have that right next to my gauges on the right side. I can see 12 different things on there, or 9 different things. That's all I basically need. So I got that, and then I got the Holly driving the factory tach and speedometer and odometer and trip and all that, so I can keep track of it. Thankfully, Dakota Digital came in there, and actually, it's funny because Holly doesn't support anything but V8 output on their ECU, so Dakota Digital has a box convert to 4 cylinders. Otherwise, I was at 2,000 RPM, and the Volvo gauge was reading 4,000 because it's a 4-cylinder tach. So it's just all the fun of trying to get all the pieces to work together. So.
And that's a 740 wagon.
Yeah, it's a 740. It's a 92, which is the last year for a 740. They basically just turned into 940s at that point. Mostly, the only difference is they chose different kinds of plastics for the interiors. Mine actually has the 940 760 front end with the bigger headlights, non-bucket style.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's a 960 in hiding, but it's a 740.
Yeah, I don't know if Mike had even thought about it, but back in April, I went down and I seen Dudes with Wrenches here in the comments, and we went down and we built a 6.0 4L80 Volvo 960 wagon down in Arkansas.
Mm-hmm.
So
and
when you talk about the 4L80E, we had a struggle getting that thing to fit.
And that's what I wasn't sure, because the 960s actually came with an inline 6 instead of a 4-cylinder. I didn't know if there was more firewall room or not. I know I had to notch my firewall just to get it to fit in the unibody frame underneath there a little bit. That electrical plug on the side of a 4L80, whichever engineer decided to make it point out the side, why they did it just sucks. It's okay in a truck, but anything else, it's not a good deal.
We just planned on massaging the tunnel, but it ended up being pull the whole interior, cut the trans tunnel, hammer it back, stitch weld it back together, seam seal it, and then that plug on the side, and then we had to get some special fittings for the lines because there wasn't enough room for them to do a 90 out of it. So it's it's definitely a tight fit.
Oh yeah, and the little trick I found with that actually is trying to remember which company it is, but they make you can buy a pre-made 6AN line, so it has a 90-degree straight off of the fitting, and then you buy it in like a 12-inch section or a 24-inch section and run it and connect it further up, and it helps with the turn a little bit, but it's just not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tip. That's maybe a part number we need.
Yeah, and that's one thing. I have all that on my Instagram, and that's one of those I've been kind of fighting. It's so tough. I mean, even I use it for reference all the time because I forget what I did 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Right? How did I take this apart?
The scrolling just never ends, and you got to wait for it to load and then scroll some more. I've got the backlog, and I'm working. I'm going to put it all on YouTube, I think, and get into videos where I can actually even get to my own stuff.
Yeah.
So hopefully help some other people out.
Right. So, running 1030s, is that kind of the goal of the car? Are you going to continue to push? Are you looking for like a 9-second pass? What's the plan?
So when I built the car, took that Virgin chassis, 25,000 mile car, and brought it to Willie out there, and it has a full 850 cert cage in it, window net. Most people don't know it because you can't see it, but it's in there. So the goal is for Sick Week this year to run 9s. So I just hooked up with some people. Disorganized Grind helped me out, our local race guys here that we race with. And I got a Kong 2650 blower. So from the 1.9 to the 2650. So I've already had it on here and ran some different pulley combos, and I've made 15 pounds of boost here when I've made 16 down low, and we have no air here in Denver. So it's going to make it. It's just keeping everything together. So
well, I do want to tell everybody that is watching, I will be following you, which mean like throughout the week. So we'll have daily videos that will catch up and interview with you and stuff like that. I think your story is one of the coolest ones. One, because of so many events that you've competed in, but then two, I mean, everybody loves the car. I think everywhere you go, it's probably a fan favorite. The tire just looks so cool tucked underneath it like it is. And, I think once maybe more people see this, and then Jesse at 3G video as well, I think you're going to, have more and more fans following you around. But I think it's always cool because that car is something that, may not be attainable for everyone, but I mean, a 10-second car is fast. And that car, I mean, how many miles did you put racing that car last year?
So last year in total, I mean, I'm either driving it to Bandimere, driving it to I drove it to the beginning of race week, drove to the beginning of Rocky Mountain race week, drove it to drag week. And that was part of the drive going out to Topeka to race ET finals out there. That kind of split the drive in half, but it was around 11,750 miles driving it. And pretty much all of those miles were towing a little 1,100-pound trailer behind it. So yeah. So the only time it got trailered was down to sick week, because that was about 4,000 miles, and we left here and it was like -5.
Yeah.
So we just loaded it up, and that's one of those. That was a long trip for some good air to not know if everything was going to be okay for the drive back, and didn't really know if I was feeling adventurous just to swap like a junkyard 5.3 and to get it back home,
Yeah.
So, but all that's had its toll. The unibody is kind of fun. We had the chassis or the unibody start cracking. So we ended up just putting in subframe connectors, tying it all together. So should be good to go for now. So it's a new chassis for us to work with, and just trying to learn it.
Yeah, and that's a great video that's on your Instagram. Is like you really go into detail of like how the bar is built. The subframe connectors are all, I guess, connected. I don't know what the term there, but they are how they're cut in and shaped and stuff. It's really, your Instagram is really very interesting for people that enjoy the build, a full build layout. We see a lot of that stuff as our luck, it's 4 years later and you've documented all of it. So that's been a huge plus to go back through and look. And like you said earlier, it's a lot of times reference for you as well.
Yeah. Yep, it's been handy.
Right. And to do almost 12,000 miles in a year in a race car, what is the maintenance schedule like for you? What are you looking for as you're, one, ending an event, and then two, kind of gearing up for the next one?
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing that's always happened is oil changes. We go and do a drag and drive 1,000 miles, and we usually running Pennzoil Platinum or Pennzoil Ultra. That stuff is just in and out of there after a drag and drive 1,000 miles, but it was a hard 1,000 to 2,000 miles. My biggest problem that I've kind of fought with all the miles sometimes is with the 9-inch axle seals, or at the end there, I didn't catch the axle seal early enough. And a lot of guys, after talking to more people, maybe every 10,000 miles, just depending on how harsh the drag and drive application is, you might just do wheel bearings on those 9 inches just to know. It's not so bad when you're in a quieter car, but the side pipes are a little loud in mine, and it's hard to hear some stuff going sometimes when you're cruising with headphones or earplugs in and stuff jamming on the stereo.
Right.
So mufflers, I've fought, had mufflers crack out this year, had to replace those. Wow. With the LSs, it's tough, man. It's just, especially with that low lift and just beehives, there's no adjustment. You just run it.
Yeah.
Coolant leaks, little slow coolant leaks in the winter when it gets cold. It's doing tranny flushes, just trying to keep clean fluid in there.
Yeah.
Diff flushes.
How often
Car's been really good to me.
Now, do you do a trans flush once a year? Once, like after 2 events?
So recently,
never at all. It's like me.
Yeah, after a drag and drive, with the 4L80, I'll usually try and pull the drain plug and just run out whatever 5-6 quarts it'll run out, and then put another 5-6 quarts in. I'll never fully drain it and everything like that, but it's just trying to keep some fresh in there. And when you take it, you can smell it on the dipstick and kind of know if anything's going going awry or not, but that's the same trans that's been in the car since I built it. Same converter. I've never had them out of the car. After sick week, planning on taking the converter out, and actually for sick week, I have a Reed 480 case and bell housing that I got a hold of this last year after waiting for 6 months on back order. But I have that. Trinity Build's building it with just a little bit better parts, but generally it's still a pretty stockish build 4L80 with some little tricks in it. And that's Paul at H&M Transmission here in Castle Rock. He's been great to me. He's helped me out a lot. So he's built a good piece for me and my mom. So
that's awesome. I'm pulling up in the other screen shots of your dad's G8.
Yep.
And then, you know, not only do you race, he races, and your mom races.
Yeah, there's the car.
Yeah. Yep. Let me get a shot here. So now, did you race it? You said you raced it the first year, right? Now, did you guys double team that? Like, was he racing and you're racing? That's pretty
cool. We were both running the 13.0 class.
Wow.
So I'd make a pass, he'd make a pass, I'd make a pass, he'd make a pass. Make 4 or 6 passes a day at least, in the car 8 passes. So
wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys are always very, very competitive in any of the index stuff that you race in.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of years of trial and error with that. I mean, we learned a lot with Rocky Mountain Race Week, especially in the early days. I mean, when it was 50 cars, 70 cars, 100 cars at the event,
yeah,
you could make 15 laps if you wanted to, and it wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
So, and it's really cool. My favorite part is traveling other places, but it's really tough because you don't know. You can look at the stats on the air, what the DA is, what the humidity, what everything's looking like, and kind of take a guess at what it's going to run. But every track is different, and you gotta have kind of a shot in the dark and hope you hit the dartboard there.
Hope you get close. And that's what's cool, I think, about the index racing side of stuff is like you guys are chasing an 00 number. So, you know, everybody looks at your car, runs 10.5s at sick week. You get some really good air. You really turn it up. You're like, hey, we're going to go all out this week. But then Rocky Mountain, you're like, hey, I'm going for this 11.0. I think you've placed what, second or third a few times in that class. Am I right?
The 2020 was first and third, and then 22 was second and fourth, and then I think it was fifth and 23 and third. So
that's awesome.
Wow.
But and it's just, I mean, like a fifth, you have one bad day, I turn in a 11-14, and it's tough. You just fight as much as you can, but you could turn in 00s every day and you ain't going to get there.
I mean, that's what I want these people to understand. And Eric was talking from Molly was talking about that earlier. Is like how hard index racing is now. I like the DYO style of stuff to where you could run, you know, if you dial in a 1030 all week, or you dial in a 1030 and that's your goal, that's fine. But you know, if you're running to like an 11.00 number, man, we've seen guys make tons of passes, you know, like I said, 6-8 passes a day is nothing, you know, you're like literally hot lapping the car and then get in it and drive 200-300 miles, you know. So
yeah, and that's been the nice part about the supercharger is being able to change pulley combos. So and that's how I made the big jump from running 12-0s with the car when I first came out with it. Those are basically stock Cadillac pulley combo, and then I just went up from there, took a shot at it in Tulsa when we showed up there for race week, and just came out and luckily ran in 11.0 something. So
man, it's crazy to think like the more days you race for index stuff, the tighter you've got to be, you know. So like,
yeah,
and you can't run faster. You can't turn in a faster time. Isn't allowed. And so speaking of that, that's actually how we're running it this year for our, you know, top 25 classes. So it's more of an 8-second guy isn't going to get lucky and make the 10-second list. Like it's going to be 10-second racers that make the 10-second list. So
yeah, because you always get like a small block NA guy that ran 10s and 11s, but he ended up with an 11.004 average for the weekend. You're like, how'd that happen?
Yeah, man, that's exactly what happens. I think that's exactly what happened a couple times in 22. So that won't happen for 23. I do want to talk about Scott Malpass's here comment. Which race is Chad Reynolds drag and drive? I do not have it on the calendar yet. I haven't seen an official date for it. I have heard some date ranges, but I will have more of that later as we talk to him and find out what's going on and things like that. I'm excited about him hosting an event as well. So I have heard it's in Texas, but I haven't heard, everybody hears everything I hear right now is September, October. That's everything I hear from everybody that talks about drag and drive events is, oh, we're putting one on in September and October. So just wanted to answer that real quick.
You can guarantee there'll be some Bucky stops on that one.
Oh, for sure. So, to me, a 10-second streetcar is fast and fun and just really, I think that's one of the great combos if you're going to build something to do what you've done and run all across the country. Why do you guys like why do you guys like the index racing so much? Like, why, is there going to be a time when you're going to enter into another class and go all out all the time?
It's tough because we just want to go out and try and be competitive.
Yep.
And it's so tough to be competitive in some of these classes. Especially with my car, I'm in trouble because I have modified rear suspension. So I don't fit into a lot of rule packages. That's where it gets really tough. So like I can't even run small block power adder super street, or I'm trying to remember what's considered a drag week. I can't run that because I got modified rear suspension.
Wow.
So if you don't build the car exactly to their rules, it gets really tough. And that's where the index, the DYO, even the bullseye challenge is really cool because it lets you go out there and be competitive.
Yep.
So you can go out there and battle it out with people all week. So
yep. I was really hoping the bullseye challenge wouldn't be a class in its own. I was really hoping it would be like a daily challenge, which where they hand out all those folks would be in a class, and then the challenge would be, hey, because then anybody can get in. You know what I mean? If they, I don't know how you sign up for that every day, but hey, we want to sign up to be in this drawing every day, whatever, because it'd be a lot of luck for a lot of people, I think, if it was just open to everyone. But yeah, whatever, I don't care. As long as more people are out racing a drag and drive event, I don't care what they enter. They can just enter for road week and sneak in. I don't care. So you talked about the Topeka race, right? The ET, what you call it?
ET final. So
ET final.
Division 5 ET final. So it's our regional race. All the tracks pick a team of drivers and go out there and race against each other, and the track with the most points from that race wins a Wally. And then all the races there for Wallies, and the winners for your Super Pro, high school, motorcycle, they all get a paid they get paid to go to, now it's Vegas, it used to be Pomona, and race against all the other winners from Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. So it's the highest point for sportsman racing on that level. So
yep. What other races did you compete in 22? Did you have time to do anything else?
So most weekends I was still at Bandamere, our local track, running Friday ET, Saturday ET, usually Pro ET, Run Tough, Street ET, two classes a day usually. And then we got Club Clash, which is really cool. We have just anybody come up, car slower than 1050, and just bracket race, but everybody has their clubs, and they get club points going on, and the highest points for that week win a pizza party the next week, and it's just nice. A lot of fun getting to hang out. It's a good way to get people into it, and it's just less intimidating. Everybody gets to help each other out, so it's a little more fun.
Right. That's awesome. Let's see. What else we got here, Eric? What are some things you, yeah. The one question I did have, you said the car was in the chassis shop. Was it just for the bars, the subframe connectors, or anything else?
Yeah, it was just addressing the subframe connectors, just trying to keep everything together. Whether it was the trailer or power, that's all up for debate, but
Totally
trailer.
the power. It was totally the power. Yeah, it was totally the power that made it.
Yeah, exactly. Talked about removable door bars, but just not there yet. It'd be nice. It's a pain when you got to work underneath something under the dash, or even on the street. If you can just pop them out on the street and be able to climb in and out of the car, not a big deal. Don't dump over the bar. Just makes it nice, but just not there yet. Maybe this next year. So.
Right. And then plans for 2023. Where all you going? What all you hitting?
So starting here with sick week. I put in interest for Death Week. And that's one of those really like going to new tracks and getting to go out to California and Death Valley.
Yeah.
The drive, getting to see new parts of the country. That was really cool at Drag Week, getting to go to a different part of the country. I've never driven around that part of the country. Yeah. So getting to see all that and hang out with friends, get to meet new people is great. I really want to do Race Week and Rocky Mountain Race Week. Matt's actually part of that super veteran deal was these first two events this year. For him, he's going to pay for our entry too.
Wow. That's awesome.
So I really, really want to, but probably starting a new job here and just don't know how vacation is going to work out. So just got to see how it goes, but see if I can escape for a week.
That's right. So, well, and you know, being that close to the starting point, that's always a big plus for you guys, you know, and both events coming out that way. But I say that, I mean, the Rocky Mountain edition of Race Week and Rocky Mountain Race Week, I mean, that's still 1,000 or 1,200 miles, and it's a full 7 days, right? Like it's 5 days of racing, but 7 days of driving.
Yeah, because the drive days, we did that first year in 15 when there was no drive days, and the drive from Pueblo to Great Bend and the drive from Kearney to Denver, when you raced that morning and you had to be in Denver to run the next day, it wasn't a whole lot of fun. There's a reason we added them, and it just makes it nicer. Everybody gets a chance to kind of fix their stuff if they have any issues. And people get to hang out a little bit more on the road sometimes. So it's been a fun experience with that.
Yeah, because those days are like close to 400 and something, right? It's more than 400 miles, I think, between one of those stops. And so, you know, you think 200 miles a day in a race car at 50 miles an hour average, oh, it only sounds like 4 hours of driving. But, y'all, that's like 7 hours on the road.
Yeah, and that's something Matt does a really good job with most of the time, is the route isn't interstate. Yeah. We'll get on interstate every once in a while to make a little skip, but it's a lot of side roads, so it's a lot more comfortable for people that say maybe you don't have an overdrive, or it's a lot safer if somebody has an issue, they're not on the side of the highway. Yeah. They're on a secondary road, and you get to see a lot more of the country. So you get to drive through all these little towns that people used to drive through all the time, and everybody's just on the interstate now. So you get to see all kinds of stuff you've never seen before. So.
Yeah, well, one thing Eric and I talk about all the time is like you're literally just on vacation. It's how fast can I get to, for us, we go to the beach. How fast can I get to the beach? So it's interstate the entire way. And it generally takes me, now I don't know about other people, but generally it takes me about 3 days to wind down enough to where I'm relaxed. Well, if you bomb for a day and a half to the beach, it's hard, you know, then you're 3 days. Well, with the drag and drive events, I show up now, I'll bomb to get to the event if I'm driving, but then like you show up and you're literally tooling around at 45, 50, 55 miles an hour in the middle of all your race car friends, and you're pulling in a gas station, and it's, I mean, dude, you know it, it's nothing to spend an hour at a gas station. Eric hasn't been on an event yet, but he's about to find out because he's going to Sick Week with me. But it's nothing to pull in, and especially for like guys like me that are trying to talk to as many people, trying to get all the stories. It's nothing to wheel in and spend 30 minutes bouncing around, seeing all the cool cars.
Oh yeah, and that was when I was a co-pilot, I was always bouncing around the pits and talking to people. And my dad's like, "Where'd he go? Oh, well, what happened? Where'd he go?"
That's awesome. And just, you know, seeing a lot of those old downtowns, and to think like, you know, 1973, that was the spot, you know, and then you're cruising through and there's all these just old school stuff that's around. And Matt does a really good job of historical stuff. I think there's a lot of really neat historical stuff that we have always passed through, at least on Race Week. I haven't been on 1.0 yet, but that is a a bucket list item. I just don't know if I can pull it off for 23, but maybe we'll see. I don't know. We're working towards trying to manipulate some time off and figure out what I can do where. So
that's the game.
yeah. It's always I accrue PTO as the year goes. So it's like, do I have enough? Could I work half a day and do that? So I don't know. We'll see. Well, so you said you're in Denver area, and then I guess you went to Drag Week this year. So you've been all over the country, man. It's pretty cool.
Did you have the same co-pilot for all 4 events last year?
That's interesting. With the Rocky Mountain Race Week, my brother can usually get the time off, so he's my co-pilot. And Race Week, me and my dad went on our own. And that's the way Race Week usually ends up for us, is me, my dad, and my mom. We're each in our own car, rolling completely separate. Just trying to work with each other throughout the week. We ended up getting walkie-talkies this last year finally, so we could talk in between cars. Best thing we ever did. Rolling solo. But it's either been my brother, our buddy John Murr, and my dad were co-pilots for Sick Week. Should be about the same thing this year. Maybe my mom, we'll see. They did the whole split this last year, and John's wife Cheryl and my mom were on Sick Ward, chasing us around in a rental Camaro, and we're all in the Volvo wagon hanging out.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, dude, I'm excited to see you at Sick Week. I think we're going to have a ton of fun. It'll be, like I said, Eric went to Drag Week this year. It's where he got some shots of your car and stuff like that we used for the video for the Drag and Drive news, and appreciate that. But he's going to have a ton more as the week goes on for Sick Week, which starts 25 days, dude. I mean, are you ready? Is there anything left with the car to do?
I'm pulling the diff tomorrow night. To change rear end gears from 370s to 350s. Just try and keep the RPM a little down. That thing is I'm stock too, so I'm only turning it 6,400 RPM. Wow. So light RPM, just being nice to everything. The transmission, I think Paul was saying he was getting it finished up tonight. So I'm going to bring him the rear end. We're going to set up the new rear end gears, get the SFI case from him, all the built reed stuff, and then as long as it stops snowing enough, I'm going to get the car over to my dad's work, and we're going to have a hoist to be able to swap transmissions this weekend. So,
wow. So you're putting the new 80 in before Sick Week? Are you crazy?
Yeah. It's what I need to cert to 850. So that's the big thing, is I want to go down as a B-Tech car, and do advanced DYO, just to be able to get a few more runs, be a little bit more chiller, get it run a little earlier in the morning. It just, I don't know. C was good. I just trying that. I'm certed for 850. We won't run 9s anyway, so get to go down there and run some 9s hopefully and have some fun.
Well, and with the way they did classes last year, you could possibly get one more round in, because you're earlier in the list, so that helps a bunch too.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think there was a day. Well, I guess there was one day where we started with the C class, but they were trying to let some of the fog get out before the big cars came down. So, dude, that's really cool. It's gonna be interesting. I'm interested to follow your story, and like I said, we'll find you every day throughout the day somewhere, and get an update for everybody that's at home. A bunch of losers, so all that kind of stuff.
And that's how it started for me. Was just, probably 2010. Just started watching Drag Week, and it was something always wanted to do. And then Matt threw up his, and it was like, I guess we're doing it. It's local. We don't have an excuse.
Well, right. And so I was talking to Jonathan Stonecipher Monday night, and we were going through kind of some of the history, like 2014 Drag Week and stuff like that, and Matt being there and Jonathan being there and all that, and kind of how that turned into Rocky Mountain Race Week, and really how that has then changed the entire game, because then there were 2 national events, and that made a big difference. And especially with geography and the region that Matt chose, dude, nobody had ever been that far west. And it just shows like it works. And you guys have built a huge family out there that is a big part of Drag and Drive life, and the whole community now has, either been on Rocky Mountain or they are trying to be on Rocky Mountain. I love the veteran status, like what, super veterans for you and the 4 other people, but to be able to come, if you are, and I'll tell you, we really discussed, were we going to do 2.0 this year because it's back to the Rocky Mountains, or it's in the Rocky Mountains for the first time, but like we're going to, because it keeps our veteran status, 1. And then 2, dude, that's the only time of year we get to see a lot of those people. There's 300 people, but 250 of them, 240 of them are the same folks you saw last year. So that's pretty cool, man. I love that.
Yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So we'll see you in 25 days. Again, if people are just jumping in, yeah, I'm nervous. If I'm nervous for you, I'm not nervous for me. My flight, I'm flying down, so it'll be fine. My flight home could be expensive. I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep the rental van and drive it home. I don't know. So, but I do want to, everybody that is jumping in, you can follow the build of the car on Bricked Over 6.0 on Instagram. Again, that's probably that's the best place to find you, and all the updates and stuff like that. So, well, dude, we're going to kick you off here. I do want to say thanks for coming on and spending, 50 minutes with us here. Do you think you could talk to us that long?
It's just, that's the cool thing about drag and drive stuff, is you're all in the same boat. You're all sinking together, and you're just trying to survive. You're
all sinking together. That's exactly right. And I don't think you're meaning SYNC together.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Well, thanks a bunch.
Yeah, and big thanks to everybody that helps cover it. You guys it's been amazing to see the support for it come out over the years. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think that, that's what I was telling the Molly guys. That's what probably the biggest benefit has been social media for these style of events, is that it just allows so much more growth and things like that. So, all right, dude. Thank you so much again. I appreciate it. I'm putting you backstage, man.
All right. Good night.
Later.
See ya.
Dude, what a fun night this has been. It's been pretty wild. We're going to actually be done a little bit early. I may have a beer here in a minute. I don't know. I should have grabbed some earlier from the fridge and put them in a little cooler. I think that's what I'm going to get next, is a cooler for in here, so I can drink some beer and stuff like that. So
yeah, why don't you have one yet?
Yeah, right. So here we got somebody asking what I miss on 235s. That's the new class. I'm telling you, 235 8th mile class is going to be insane come 2023. It's going to be a lot of fun. Sick Week is added, Rowdy Radial. I got a message the other day about Nostalgia Nights adding a 235, their 8th mile for everything for that. But I've got a message Nostalgia Nights about doing 235. Should they do it? I said, heck yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you? Because I'm telling you, it's going to be a big deal moving forward. I think we're going to really see some 4 and 5 second 8th mile cars come swinging. Well, dude, did you see Devin Vanderhoof's video the other day?
I don't think so.
Like a 470 8th mile on some 235 tires. Like, bro,
oh,
it's
wow.
over. if people, he's coming to Sick Week. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see those cars, one, get beat up all week, but then, the 235 stuff. Think about how much these guys are used to racing on what's a 275? 13 inches wide, 12 inches wide of tread, something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're used to racing on that, and something that's, 28 and a half inches tall. Now they're going to, a 26 by 8.5 and turning power way down and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be a lot of fun. I think we're going to end up seeing some down track wheelies as people bring in all their power and stuff. While we have a minute, let's talk about kind of our plan for Sick Week, because I don't think people are ready for what we're bringing.
It's going to be a lot.
Dude, it's going to be a lot of fun. I hope that this rental van is white. I just hope that we are going to end up in this thing and it's going to look like the Goober Mobile, and we're going to have some fun. Like I said earlier, I'm bringing some decals with me, so we'll have some of that. I will also have some merch with me, a limited quantity of hats and shirts and decals and stuff like that. So I'll have some of that stuff with me. But again, guys, we've got to ship all that stuff down there, all the costs that are associated with that. So if you're planning to purchase something in person, definitely holler at me ahead of time. I'll make sure I get it labeled up for you and stuff like that.
So
It'll
what
be,
you need to
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was gonna say, so yeah, just let me know.
I was going to say what you need to do is get a hold of somebody that can make a big drag and drive magnet that we can plop on the side of the van for the week.
Yeah, yeah. Drag and drive pursuit, I think, is what I'm going to put on the side. I've been in contact with. So my day job is with a print vendor, and so we've talked about it. They don't know if they can get it turned around in time. So I have actually talked to some folks down that way. So that may be a possibility as well. So I'm telling you, there's going to be a minivan driving around with the side door open, and there's going to be either Eric or me hanging out the side of it. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then I think 3G Video here, this is another good comment too. We're going to have to cruise together. Yep, Richard from Wildwood Productions and Jesse from 3G Video going to be along. They're covering Sick Week as well for both channels. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot of social media content that will come from Sick Week for not just us, but I have talked to a lot of people that are not in the drag and drive community as deep as this, but that are coming down for at least a day of Sick Week to give some coverage to everybody, to all of their followers. I mean, I'm telling you, drag and drive is on the rise. So
Yeah,
have a lot of fun.
absolutely.
Yeah, tonight was really cool. Bringing Molly on board, I'm so excited about that, to have them as part of this whole thing. I mean, it really is crazy for them to give us an opportunity. They're a huge company, and to give us that opportunity to help, spread their name, and then them help spread ours too. So it's really cool for those guys being on. Dude, I feel like we covered a ton of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So next
But
episode is, go ahead.
You gotta fix your face, man.
Again? Dude,
I haven't said it tonight, so
I'm telling you, I'm ordering the camera. I ordered a camera today. That's gonna be $80 well spent. I'm telling you. Next episode is Saturday morning for the Drag and Drive News. I am doing a spotlight on Jonathan Stonecipher, who is the reason I am into Drag and Drive. He is the reason. He is my godfather of Drag and Drive, is what I'm going to call him from now on. We had some interview time with him. He actually talked into a camera for a little bit by himself. It's going to be a lot of fun. There's some editing that I'm going to do there, laying over some of the video of his car and then some of the other cars in the background to do that. So got that coming up on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. And then we're back here next week. Now we have a few guests that are giving us confirmation if they can come on and what time frame they would come on for next week. But if you would like to be on this show, definitely send us a message. If you have some fun stories that you would like to tell, let us know. You can find me on Instagram. I'm probably the easiest way to get a hold of it. I do a lot of the scheduling for that kind of stuff. Eric is here for the pretty face and all of the help and great topics and questions. Dude, there's so much that goes on behind the scenes that nobody ever sees. So
yeah,
thanks to you for coming on too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, people don't realize we spend how many hours a week talking, and we have Google Drive where we put all of our questions. And so if people do have specific questions that they want, leave them in the comments, reach out to us, because we've got a whole Word doc where we keep track of that stuff. So
Yep. And I see a bunch of folks are messaging me on Facebook now. So bringing on Red Hat Scotty, you are definitely going to be on. I think what I may do is actually replace Eric one week with Red Hat Scotty. I don't know. I always say guest host, but dude, you've been on every week, so it'd be hard to get rid of you. But maybe I'll have you both on. It'd be Red Hat Scotty has some of the coolest stories because he's one of the guys that has changed an engine in the parking lot at 2 a.m. It's a great story if you haven't seen all that. One thing I will say before we go is I have been covering Drag and Drive for a lot longer than Drag and Drive Addiction has been around. So I'm going to start moving some of my Narcoleptic Customs content over and bring that to you guys here as well. So because there's a lot of really good newbie questions, like before I was even a racer, before I even attended my first one, I went down the rabbit hole of talking to 5 or 6 different people, asking what is good to do, what should I do, what am I looking for, things like that. So I'm going to bring all of that over here too, so everybody can have that content as well.
Awesome.
So, yeah. All right, dude. Well, thanks for hanging out, man. I see Camron is still backstage, so let's talk to him for a few minutes and we're going to leave here, though. We'll see everybody next week. Yeah. If you don't already do it, I mean, surely you do. Follow Dragon Drive and follow 815 LSx Swaps and Motorsports Paparazzi, dude.
It's now on YouTube, so
yeah, all over the place. So as you see, we'll be adding more and more places to find this. We are on 8 different places right now, so it's pretty awesome. All right, dude, let's end this, man. Tell everybody.
All right. Yep. See you guys.